Hello everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. Hope you're doing fantastically well. Guys, EWT, Energy Web Foundation, the EWT token on the exchange is our topic today. I wanted to talk about this awesome news that came out a couple of days ago around the OMEGAX Project. So what is that? The EU Commission, we talked about, I think a few months ago now actually, Energy Web's integration or certainly advisories to the EU Commission. So the EU Commission is basically these guys here basically essentially kind of decide things for the European Union, but kind of like maybe also for procurement, systems, processes, supply chains, etc. So very much the guys that are in charge, I guess, of Europe as a whole. Of course, we here in the UK left last year. Whether that was a good or bad decision still, I guess, remains to be seen overall. But we're not here for the politics nonsense. We're here to discuss, why is this kind of conversation important about EWT? Well, Energy Web we talked about for a multitude of months now. As a project we're heavily invested in, and we do love the aspect of energy, carbon tokens being distributed, shared, processed via blockchain technology, the automation, the AI algorithm, and everything that will be coming very soon, from things like charging your car automatically as you drive past houses. It could be selling surplus energy via your Web3 hotspots to other people around the world, or even indeed your neighbors, or even indeed using community energy sources. Stopping this mechanism of, not necessarily fraudulent, but dishonest utility companies with high-rise bills and this, that, and the other. We get more power back to the people in these kind of aspects. So, there's various avenues for this to go down in both centralization and decentralization as well. But in the grand scheme of things, of course, big, massive topic at the moment of green, climate change, CO2 reductions, all of these things. But equally on the other side is this whole process and policy now of renewable energy. A lot of money is being pumped, billions and billions, if not trillions of dollars into this sector now. Chipsets and solar panels becoming cheaper and cheaper. So you as a consumer right now can go and buy probably a good nice set, to be fair, of solar panels, a battery to hold the accumulation of the energy. And then when you've got hotspots built in and things like that, and transformers, you'll become a prosumer, so you can sell it back, almost like what they did with the selling back onto the grid, except you can be decentralized about it. And this whole aspect of blockchain, utilization of different tokens, different blockchains working harmoniously together simultaneously with the speed and efficiency that transaction speeds are allowed to have on blockchain. This is where cost of energy will reduce significantly, as will we talked about time and the efficiency around the world in general. So this OMEGAX project very heavily linked with the European Commission and Energy Web. But before we go into Energy Web as well, taking in their EWT, which we did cover a while back, a few months ago, but basically the application, the system behind Energy Web being created for other countries, for other companies to utilize the aspect of this kind of messaging, transactional aspect, and storage of energy, as well as tokenizing the carbon assets in terms of trading and things like that as well. So working heavily, as we've mentioned before, with a number of partners such as EDF, and that's clear here. So the OMEGAX project is essentially set up with 30 different EU partners, Energy Web being one of those included as well. But very much also utilizing with the likes of EDF, Engie, which absolutely huge, I believe, in France. We've got EDP Lisbon, and we've also got ELIA or ELIA. I'm not sure where they are based, but you can clearly see the mechanism behind the European Commission to try and emphasize and build in this new infrastructure. Because once we get this and finance in general on blockchain, efficiently and sustainably together, honestly, the future is hopefully looking really bright for humanity and the way that we do business, the way that we use energy, because ultimately, and this is going a bit deep, I guess, but there was a project called the Venus Project years and years ago. Go check it out. Unfortunately, the founder passed away a couple of years ago, But he's spent pretty much his whole life dedicated to trying to find a sustainable solution for the world where no one had to work, no one had to buy things or sell things or anything like that. We just lived harmoniously. We were able to explore the universe or the world that we live in. That's what I think, like in the grand scheme of things in the future, hopefully this is the world that I want to see, is that kind of world happening, because we weren't designed to work. We weren't designed for this control method. But if we can get blockchain involved, where you've seen all these like feeless transactions and the speed of transactions, but from a corporate level, of course, they'll probably have some kind of monetary value. And I'm sure in the lower tiers society, we will have other monetary systems and maybe tokenomics as well, where you're doing play to earn, where you're doing activity to earn. We're almost on this new mechanism of how we obtain some kind of capacity of trade for the world to go in. But from the aspect of energy is really important, that we don't just talk about the reduction of carbon emissions and things like this, whether some people think it's a hoax or this, that, and the other. But the fact of the matter is, we need to change the way we do business in energy, and that includes the way that we energize our cars, we fuel our cars, the way we be more sustainable and conscious of our purchasing decisions, whether it be material items, food, produce, whatever it is. And we talked about VeChain the other day, this whole AI algorithm around supply chain and tracker traceability, and the ability for consumers to see and make conscious decisions more and more now with the data behind it. That transfers across to energy as well. So I'm really excited to see this absolute giant partnership going on, and the integration of being... And, if we pull out, for example, Atos here. So Atos, absolutely humongous company. And I just wanted to emphasize the fact that these guys pretty much cover a multitude of different solutions, and very interestingly, quantum learning machines. We've got a lot of things about Internet of Things on here as well. We talk about, like with VeChain, as we mentioned just a minute ago, the optimization of supply chain. Here we got the optimization of maritime transport operations. So, and loads of other things, of course, can be interlaced with that critical communication for various industries. And it doesn't just stop at what we've already talked about with, like, security cameras and the likes of washing machines, kettles, all these things working around your house. The interlacing aspect of blockchain right now. Now, obviously, they're not directly talking about blockchain here. Once you talk about quantum learning machine-to-machine learning, the aspect of AI, automation, analytics and data, and the aspect of Internet of Things and all the other things that we talk about on various different videos, it all interlaces with each other. And you must remember as well that things like IOTA that we cover are heavily involved with the EU Commission as well, the European Commission. So it's all about dot connecting here in some cases, guys, because Energy Web Foundation, and there's other projects we cover in the energy sector as well. Of course, we talk about things like Power Ledger, and some other ones as well. This is really taking care of the energy sector application, and that, of course, affects us all. It affects us all on so many levels, and especially as the future momentum occurs of electric vehicles, everything else going on to grid systems, prosumer capabilities. There's a multitude of options here, guys, and this is just one small aspect of Energy Web's or Energy Web Foundation is their aspect of what they can do moving forward. I just think these things are really important to understand and learn more about. And of course, we've talked about IoT, AI, energy. It all combines, guys. As blockchain develops, so will all the technology around the world, adding itself to systems such as DAG and all the great things that blockchain can provide us to take us to a new level. But I thought I'd bring those kind of points to your attention. Like I said, we cover Energy Web quite a lot here, but when we see articles like this and when we see partnerships, it must be emphasized, the interlacing aspect of blockchain across a multitude of platforms, partnerships, companies, and just worldwide governments as well. So on that note, guys, let's take a look at the chart of EWT. So we've gone to since the last kind of videos that we've done. We've had a bit of a correctional period on EWT. Of course, we had the staking aspect live earlier in December. I said nearly earlier this month, and I almost forgot already that we're in a new year already. Absolutely mental. So guys, we had the tail up of the staking, which we'll jump back into in a second before we conclude this video. But of course, after that application, you've got a couple of things to consider. You've got people who perhaps couldn't get in time, or just felt like they, a lot of people, to be honest, invest without understanding what's going on with the project. They'll just see green and they'll jump in. So I think, of course, that there's a bit of that going on at 100%. But more importantly as well is just the aspect of the money that's come in for EWT over the last sort of month or so. That of course profits were going to be taken anyway. There's no doubt about it. So that's kind of what's been happening in the last couple of weeks. I mean, we've had, let's just have a quick look here. For example, the top end here at $15. Dragging ourselves back down to yesterday's number, for example, good 43%. That's crazy. And, what we need to start seeing is some stability down at these levels. We did have a lot of traction around that sort of $8.7 mark. Maybe a month or so ago, and I was buying a lot of EWT back then, and to be honest, I bought most of mine down at the $4. Of course, back then you just don't know where the tops are or the low points are, but I was buying it down there. I had no idea in my mind that we would shoot up to 15 in such a short space of time, and that was July to pretty much the mid-range or end of August. Can you believe that? That is humongous. Of course, with that aspect, EWT has had a fantastic ride. This is just the KuCoin data, so obviously it can't go any further back anyway, but I think it's absolutely fantastic. And we have, it was earlier this year, it was like $23.50, and I think we'll definitely get back to those levels at some point soon. And I think EWT, once it gets more, once more people get aware of this, right, and they understand the application of it and what the future holds for energy and carbon credits and things like this using blockchain, people will be jumping on this. And there's no doubt in my mind that I'm sure there'll be some partnerships with some really big energy companies out there as well. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the development of EWT. I think there's great opportunities still here around these areas. I was buying loads more yesterday. I think anything under $10 is incredible for EWT. But even to the point where if we can try and get back to our previous all-time high, that's still a good move from here. Of course, like double the position. But, I think, like I said, we're really testing these lower regions again now. And it's looked like we're slowly starting to confirm higher lows every single time, albeit not massive, drastic differences. $8 got maybe just 8.5 here. It's very slow pace if you think about it, but in the meantime, in between each move, you've got some really good gain opportunities and profit taking opportunities as well. So right now, literally as we're talking about this last week of this correction, we're getting the tail off now on the histogram of overselling. What I'd really love to see is this like pale red come in more and more and take us back to this kind of leveled off area, and then see this MACD switch over, because it's quite incredible really, because from this point here on the 9th of December we've actually been coming down quite significantly if you look at it from this kind of data. And right now as well, the RSI on the 14-day looking very healthy at this 37.41 mark. So I think in the next couple of weeks this could be a good marker right now to be looking back at and suggesting that this might go a bit higher. But for me, the reason I bought most of it more again yesterday, one, because it's under the $10, and two, I was really loving this market here on the 28-day 46. I think it could arguably still come down a bit further. I'd like to see that 28-day come to maybe around 42.40, and then I would definitely be buying a lot more of it as well. But what we got to also anticipate just today, if you see around this area up here in the volumes, we do have a green volume kicking in today. I'm just going to be cautious of that over the next 24-48 hours to see if we're moving into a positive direction yet or not. But in the grand scheme of things, from the data that we have here, this MACD isn't narrowing enough, in my opinion, to suggest that we are going to be doing that. So I'm keeping my eye out for some really nice buy opportunities. And I do think we could try and maybe test back down to this 8.5 cent mark again, and I will for sure be pouncing on that. There's no doubt about it. But like I said in many of the other videos, from the RSI perspective, we've got the 28-day, 14 and the 90. The 90 days is floating around 48. I would like that to be around maybe more 45 to really confirm we're trying to edge this back up in a forward direction. So I don't think we've fully bottomed out this kind of correction that we're seeing over the last few weeks of EWT. I think there's a few more opportunities to keep bagging under this $10 mark and maybe slightly lower than what we are currently. But these are in the positive aspect of these RSIs is that we're reducing massively the risk of it coming down really far, and an opportunity for having some really good gain indicators here. So as we look at it right now, if you take a snapshot right now, in 2 weeks time, I would like to see that 14-day maybe at the 50-60 mark. But certainly the 28-day and the 90 days are going to look maybe hopefully a bit more healthy towards that 50-55. And then we can indicate in like maybe a month's time and 2 months time where we see this 90 perhaps increasing higher and higher. This is where you get the point of, okay, I'm buying at these points, and in 2 months time when these get to higher numbers, I don't really need to look too much at the chart data. I can also look at the back end aspects of the relative strength indexes that we got here to confirm that these are good potential opportunities to take some profits and then start that DCA dollar cost averaging moving upwards, so taking profits along the way, because you just know when the tops are. You don't know how much volume will kick in and when it will stop, because this tail up here is completely mirrored. We've got to anticipate as well all these, like, not necessarily price discoveries, but we haven't really had many touch points historically at these higher levels, so it's understandable why we've seen resistance and not enough power to bring us up here. EWT simply isn't ready for that, and that's why we had this big drawback down to the 4.5, because it was so over purchased. But now we're seeing a very nice trend line, and that's what I want to see with this project. I want to see this with many other projects as well, is this healthy correctional aspect and healthy growth. I don't want to keep seeing these parabolic runs, because they're just not good for the representation of EWT and from an investor's perspective. Of course, great to take profits and buy back in, but from the longevity of this, I want to see more health in this. So we are getting there. I think EWT is showing some really good signs of trying to really cement this sort of $8 to $9 mark, hopefully near the 10, so we can really push this up to new higher heights. But I don't think we're quite ready to retest this $10 mark yet. We need to perhaps confirm the support mechanisms around these areas between the 7 and 9 before we can pull this back up. And on the performance here, it's quite clear we're still in the reds on these top lines here. But this 1 weekly, if we can pull that into green, we can slowly start hammering this 1 month up. But I think that's going to take maybe 3 to 4 weeks to switch this over, unless there's some really interesting EWT news coming out to help pull that back up. But before we wrap that up, guys, I just want to really pinpoint again this staking opportunity with EWT. If you want a video on how to stake, let us know and we will do one for you. But in general, there's a course here, as you can see. Nearly 5 million has been staked. That did hit 5 million on the original days when the staking was starting, but they made it clear that the only way you can get into the staking is if people pull their EWT out, and is always on a daily basis opportunity. If you didn't get around to getting EWT staked before and you want to, there's always some space lingering around. So if you do want to do that, I do recommend it. There's plenty of guidelines on EWT staking websites, but like I said, if you want a video on it, let us know and we will get one done for you. But hopefully you guys are taking advantage of some really cool EW staking opportunities. Guys, I'm going to wrap that up there. Thank you for watching, and we will see you hopefully in the next EWT update video, especially around these Omega announcements, the partnership announcements, because I think this is a phenomenal massive partnership opportunity with a multitude of partnerships and companies across Europe. And that's what I want to see when I'm investing in a project. All the other great external things that contribute not just to the price, but my belief in these kind of projects. Thanks for watching, guys. We will see you in the next EWT video next week. Take care and bye bye.